welcome back to another episode of the Cables to Clouds news update, where Tim and I are going to go through some of the networking and cloud adjacent tech news articles that have come out over the last couple of weeks, and give our opinions and comments alike. It is a very dark and early Tuesday morning here in Sydney, Australia, and I'm assuming temperament and beautiful Monday afternoon in Raleigh, North Carolina. But before we get into the news, I do want to take care of a couple housekeeping items. First of all, Tim, how you doing?
What? Are we doing this now?
Well, I just realized now that we don't work together anymore, I probably check in with you a little less than I normally would as a coworker. So yeah, what's new, man? You just went to Japan.
Yeah, I just got back, actually. I got a ton of pictures and stuff. I'm putting together some kind of post because everybody's asking me, like, hey, how was it? And it's like, I have so many pictures. I have so many stories. Like, I'm just not going to type or say that 100 times. So yeah. I'll put something together and I'll post it. It was good, though. I mean, I took the test, took the JLPT N3. I was amazed by how many people were there. Like, that. Really? It was a convention hall filled with desks. I could not believe how many people were there from different countries to take it. So like Japanese nationals, natives rather, cannot take the JLPT, like the proficiency test for language. Only foreigners, basically. So it was all foreigners.
So that's even crazier that it was that well attended.
Yeah.
If it was non-nationals.
Yeah. So I mean, if I did fail, it's probably because of the listening section, because the listening section had a decent amount of echo because of the size of the room and everything. I knew it was gonna be a problem. Well, it is what it is. We'll see how it went. I'm hopeful, but yeah, I will know if I passed. I probably just barely passed, which a pass is a pass. But if I want to move on to the next level, then it's not going to work anymore. They definitely make it a lot tighter per level. Right. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But yeah, it was good. It was nice being in the same time zone for a little bit of time, about 10 days or 8 days or so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Very rare occasion that we're on the same sleep schedule. So that was nice. Yeah, well, that's good. Good luck. I'm sure you'll pass with flying colors. We'll find out in a couple months, I guess. But yeah, so before we get into it, another update from us here on the podcast. So Tim and I, just with our kind of ever busy schedules, me starting a new job, and Tim obviously has a lot of irons in the fire as well. We've decided to push the show back to a fortnightly release for the overall show. So this includes our regular episodes as well as our news episodes. So you'll be getting a Cables to Clouds episode every 2 weeks versus every week that you're seeing now. So that will, I think we want to take a shift more towards focusing on quality of episodes rather than quantity of episodes. And with a weekly cadence, it was starting to feel like we were rushing to make sure we were getting people in to record episodes and things like that. And I feel like the content was potentially suffering a little bit. So we want to shift back and make sure we can kind of have a little bit more thoughtful conversations and things like that. So we're going to be releasing on a bi-weekly or fortnightly cadence starting from this week. So 16th of July will be the start of that. So you'll get another episode 2 weeks after that. So just a little heads up, and we'll let everybody know on social media as well. And if you have any comments or feedback on that, please reach out. I'm happy to hear from you guys as much as possible. So look forward to that. And with that out of the way, let's hop into the news. Let's see. All right, so first up, we have an article here that was first brought to us by Bleeping Computer. So Ingram Micro, who is one of the world's largest IT distributors, we actually do quite a bit of work here in Australia with them as well, suffered a ransomware attack by a ransomware group called SafePay. So basically back on the 5th of July, they've kind of reported that there was a cybersecurity incident going on. And that's some of their internal systems had been compromised. There was the attack lasted over, it sounds like about four days or so before they actually were able to resume their businesses or the business operations globally from their kind of update schedule that they put out. It seems that the SafePay individuals that got access to these Ingram systems, it's kind of confusing the timeline here because they came out and said initially that they thought someone had gotten in through compromised credentials over their Global to Protect VPN platform, which is kind of a VPN onboarding platform provided by Palo Alto Networks. Yeah. And then Palo Alto Networks kind of commented that they were looking at the incident with Ingram as well. And then later there was a comment saying that the VPN gateways were not compromised using these password spray attacks that were called out in the attack as well. So I don't know exactly if that means that's not how the intruder got in. Or if that's just it wasn't a password spray attack, and maybe it was just something that was a little bit more contained than that. But nonetheless, it seems like this was a pretty serious attack. They were actually able to or forced to kind of shut down a certain sector of their operations. They were telling people to go home and work from home. Although if the the remote VPN was the platform that was compromised, I'm sure they shut that down too. So if you were, potentially an employee of Ingram Micro, you might have been sitting at home twiddling your thumbs for a little while. So this seems like it's pretty serious. Wish the best to all involved. It doesn't seem like there's been any money that's exchanged hands here with regard to the ransomware attack. So hopefully this is the last of it. But sometimes when you hear that there hasn't been any exchange of funds, sometimes there's exploitation that comes out later due to data that was compromised during the event. So so pretty rough one here. Glad to see them back in normal operations though. Any comments from you, Tim?
No, I agree. The timeline on the articles that we were reading as kind of published by Ingram and then collected in these articles, it was a little strange, and it wasn't clear. Even now, they haven't been clear on exactly how the attack was successful. They did initially believe it was compromised credentials or password spray. Now, Palo specifically came out and said our Global Protect VPN was not compromised, or VPN gateways were not compromised. But as a vendor saying that your gateways were not compromised, that doesn't say that. That just means like the road was not compromised, but like the car could have been, right? For sure. It could still have been, and probably was ultimately, leaked or phished credentials potentially that gave them entrance into it. Although you kind of wonder, from a zero trust perspective, how leaked credentials could lead to a decent amount of, especially apparently important enough computers to end up being, ransomed. So maybe there was like a lack of zero trust and this would have been, I assume, on Ingram's side, because Global Protect VPN really just provides the access, and then the policy based on how the company would have configured it, right? So yeah, it's very unclear from the article, but I would assume, Occam's razor would suggest that, compromise, spearfish potentially credentials, and then maybe a lack of true zero trust enforcement that would allow lateral movement or something like that would let an attacker compromise and ransom multiple systems. I do agree with you that nowhere in here does it say anything about them paying the ransom. In fact, because they were down for something like 4 days or something, it's far more likely that what they did was contain and then replace the compromised devices. But yeah, good question. Was there exfiltration that happened during that time that's going to have data sold on the dark web for recouping some of that money for the attack, or are there other backdoors or something potentially that have been put in that, because that could have happened. Maybe they picked some devices that they didn't ransom. Maybe they kept them as backup rootkits or something like that, where they could come in back later. So I think time will tell. And this is the problem ultimately whenever you suffer a cyber attack, is that it is truly difficult to really know how deep it goes, right?
Yeah, right.
Someone who has access to your systems, the ransomware part might just be one method of trying to extract value from the attack, right? So yeah, I guess we'll see. Best of luck to Ingram, and hopefully they actually rooted it out and won't suffer any problems in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it seems like they did. I mean, we've talked about cyber attacks on this show quite a bit, and the thing is, like, these things are going to happen, from time to time, and it looks like they had a relatively good approach for instituting controls to stop some of that. I think they did like a global reset of every employee's MFA across the entire company, which is, probably not fun for the employees, but it's good that they were able to do that, right? And that's a way to at least kind of stop the bleeding for a bit. So, all the best. Hopefully it works out okay.
Yep. Okay, so the next story comes to us from Network World. CoreWeave is acquiring CoreScientific. No relation. I know that they both, I guess they're now related, but previously no relation, for $9 billion with a B dollars to quote unquote power their AI infrastructure push. This is interesting. So CoreWeave is actually a publicly traded company that is an AI backed cloud. NVIDIA backs CoreWeave, like they're invested or whatnot in CoreWeave, and they provide AI services, right? Just as a on-demand AI services. So that's CoreWeave. Now CoreWeave is buying a company called CoreScientific rather. CoreScientific is actually a cryptocurrency mining operation. So you can already, from a technology perspective, you can obviously see the value of an AI company acquiring a farm full of GPUs. So yeah. I think we talked about this a while ago, how cryptocurrency farming and AI technology, if you will, the underpinning technology powering AI with GPUs are, first of all, they're both extremely power hungry. They're just like sucking the planet dry of resources, but also how complementary. We were kind of talking about like who's going to win the GPU wars, right? Like, are we going to end up with crypto miners as the winners, or is AI going to be the winners? I think we're seeing a definitive move towards AI, partially because, first of all, crypto has just been in the game a lot longer, and the thing with crypto is the longer a coin exists, the harder it is to continue to mine that coin. So it's a what do they call it? A diminishing return. The whole things are diminishing return. So over time, it has to get harder, and the ROI, the return on investment there, is worse. So the Network World article points out that, like, okay, so CoreScientific might have been struggling, and then this is a good exit strategy for them as a company to just like cash out, essentially, just get out of the game. And I couldn't agree more, honestly. If somebody's got $9 billion to throw at it, I couldn't imagine a better exit for that company than to just sell all your shit to AI in the overpowered, overblown, overpriced time that you can sell it, right? Like, well, it's as expensive as probably ever gonna be, and then exit. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's not much to see here. They sold it, so I guess we'll see if these guys get their return on investment. That's the real question.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess if you have somewhat of a cynic point of view, it's funny to see one technology that was new on the scene and promised to make people a lot of money now is getting bought by another new technology that promises to make a lot of people a lot of money that still is not profitable in roughly any capacity. So some people are probably saying, oh, well, what's the next thing? What's going to buy CoreWeave? And you know what? It's 5-6 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, not to be mean, but like I'm kind of glad to see some of the crypto mining and crypto adjacent stuff starting to be on the way out. Like it sounds like even some of the blockchain technology stuff is getting overpowered by the quantum computing conversations nowadays, right? So it sounds like all of that is kind of being swept back under the rug. I don't know if it's going to die a fiery death or just slowly wither away, but it's just funny to see this happening. But
it's like pure speculation, buying pure speculation. Like there's actually, at least there's an actual demonstrable product on the AI side of it,
right?
Like versus Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, which is truly like digging a hole in your backyard and just picking up rocks and telling everybody they're worth a lot of money. And so, I don't know how else to, there truly is no actual product associated with blockchain besides the blockchain itself, right? Which is, as we've seen there's a lot of challenges like proof of work and all this other stuff that makes actual consumption contracts and of all of that blockchain technology actually not make a lot of sense for the most part, right? So it's a product, it's pure speculation, and at least AI has, even if it's not profitable, at least there's a demonstrable value proposition, a product to be produced. But like you pointed out, like it's still so far from profitability. I think there's still casting wide nets to try to figure out, okay, well, how do we, as useful as all this is, how do we make it profitable versus the cost of production, of bringing it to the market? So I think we're going to still be searching for that golden ticket for quite a while. So maybe something will come, maybe the next thing will come along and buy that. Assuming there's a planet left. It's interesting.
Yeah, we'll see if this kind of stuff and the Stargate project and all that kind of, there's just so much money being pumped into this shit, man. It's like, it's like amounts of money that we've never even had to like fathom in any capacity.
And where's it coming from? Like truly, where's it all coming from?
Yeah, because the AI is not making any money yet. So like, it's all speculation. So maybe we're due for another depression or something. We'll see.
It is the 20s.
Yeah, I know, right? It could happen. All right, moving on. So we've already talked about this a little bit on one of our past shows, but it was kind of just a rumored thing, and now it seems it's actually come to fruition. But Arista has basically announced that they have acquired or starting to acquire VeloCloud from Broadcom. Which was previously, prior to being VMware being bought, was a VMware product as well, right? So VeloCloud is it was VMware's SD-WAN offering that they had on the market. Was relatively wide adopted for a while, which is I think a good thing for Arista. I don't think they had a strong SD-WAN portfolio prior to this. So this will be something to kind of help round out their kind of WAN. I don't know if people would like. People always have their unique names internally for what their products thing. So this is going to fit into that kind of WAN category. And I think Arista's been very known for being prominent in the data center and maybe here and there from, private clouds or even public clouds, et cetera. So I think this will be good to kind of expand their portfolio with the WAN as well, which is good. I gotta say, man, it's like if you were an OG VeloCloud customer, I'm curious to hear opinions from them on what this ride has been like. Because if you came on being a VMware customer, like, I mean, let's be honest, like people that like VMware, that doesn't necessarily mean they are going to like anything offered by Broadcom or even Arista. Those are kind of the companies that have their very, opinionated fans in certain capacities and ones that don't. So I'm sure they've been on a wild ride over the course of the past, couple years. But yeah, so I think this is good. I think it does leave a little bit of uncertainty on the table for things like apparently Broadcom and VeloCloud brought a SASE solution to the market as well, combining the SD-WAN and the Symantec offering from Broadcom, which was also under their umbrella. So I don't know if that's just going to kind of get the axe. I don't think it had an amazing amount of the market cap in the SASE world, but I don't know what the future of that is going to look like. Maybe we'll have to look into that. And kind of on the back of this, they've also Arista have announced that they've announced that they've hired a new COO in Todd Nightingale, who's coming over from Fastly, to where he's been the CEO for the past 3 years. So I'll say he's, he kind of comes across and say, he's a networking person. He's excited to get back into kind of the networking world and things like that, which is good. I think he kind of worked his way up through the ranks at Cisco for many years. So he's kind of coming back into that camp, although probably working for someone that Cisco's not been too fond of for quite a while. So that's kind of funny, but. Here we are. I mean, I will say with this VeloCloud acquisition, things like that, I think he's got his work cut out for him. He's got a lot of, strategic execution that's going to need to kind of come to fruition and play out for Arista in this part. But overall, I think it's a relatively good move for them, and we'll have to see where it goes. But if you are an OG VeloCloud customer when they were Arista, and now you've come.
You mean VMware when they were
VMware. Yeah, sorry, VMware VeloCloud customer, and now you've made it through the ranks over to Arista. I'd be curious to hear opinions on what that transition's been like. So reach out to us.
Well, and more importantly, are you still because when Broadcom bought, VMware, did they come out with hey, your VeloCloud is now $10 billion? Did that happen? Or
maybe the bills will go. Maybe they went up 10x, and maybe they'll come back down to 2x or something.
It's so interesting because I think everybody. I mean, how many times did we talk about this? Broadcom runs like a what's the word? A private equity firm, right?
Yeah.
Broadcom works like a private equity firm. That's how they make their money. They act like a private equity firm. So them spinning off VeloCloud is not surprising in the least. It probably was not a huge moneymaker for VMware. It was probably one of those things where VMware had it because it made loyal customers that kept in their ecosystem and provided a solution for them. But if you come in and you're like Broadcom, the PE company, you're looking at it and you're saying, well, this is a business unit we're paying for that isn't making, we can't charge $1 billion for it. So let's just sell the business unit and focus on the parts that we can overcharge customers for. So that not a surprise, actually. I would not, I guess it makes sense. It's one of those things that after the fact, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But I wouldn't have thought at the time about Arista buying Velo. Because doesn't Arista have some weird, off the shelf, something they built themselves for a SD-WAN?
Yeah, I think that's the thing is the Arista, like I said, being such a prominent vendor in the data center world. It's like I'd never really heard too much about them having
they have something. I know they do. Yeah.
They definitely did have something. I remember when this was rumored, I started looking up, and they had something. But the thing is, the way it was listed, it was like it was vague enough to where I just wouldn't understand if it was an SD-WAN product or not. You know what I mean?
Pathfinder. It was called Pathfinder.
Yeah.
We did look it was part of the CloudVision thing. We did look this up when we first saw the rumors. I remember now. That was a while back now, but yeah, Pathfinder they called it.
I mean, now they obviously have a very strong portfolio in the SD-WAN camp versus something that we weren't even sure was SD-WAN, right? I mean,
Yeah.
SD-WAN has gotten to the point where it is table stakes for a
It really
networking vendor,
is.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, they talked about it killing MPLS for the longest time, and I don't think it necessarily killed MPLS, but MPLS is still there.
Yeah, it still has a value.
And I will say, in certain parts of the world, I was amazed to learn that MPLS is still a very prominent technology, like India, so to say, a ton of MPLS still. But so I don't think it necessarily killed that, but it's definitely like you got to have your WAN has to have some sort of intelligence built into it now. So we're definitely at that point. So I think they, rather than kind of being behind the 8 ball on that, I think it's probably good to get something with as much recognition as VeloCloud.
Yeah, I wonder if they got it cheap as well. I mean, relatively cheap, right? Relatively cheap, because I'm pretty sure Broadcom was trying to get rid. Like I said, they'll probably spin off other business units that aren't they can't charge like insane profit margins on anyway, because that's just their thing. So yeah, maybe Arista was like just opportunistic about it. Like, hey, our Pathfinder's okay, but we'd much rather have so now it comes down to integration. Let's see Arista's integration strategy is and how they fix it and put it into their CloudVision or their platform that they're using for all the other smart stuff that they're doing.
I mean, sadly, I wonder if this goes the exact same route or different route than Cisco. Like Arista is very... Yeah, because Arista is very big on the unified operating system, right? Like EOS is their like their one thing that runs pretty much most of their platform. VeloCloud's obviously not going to run that, so it's like, do you merge the two? Do you cause that headache for people, or can you do it in a much better fashion than Cisco did? So
are they going to learn the lesson?
Will
they learn the lesson? Because that really hurt. That really hurt SD-WAN adoption, waiting to backport it to iOS XE. Now, ultimately, I think it did actually do well for the platform. Like, I think Cisco SD-WAN is doing better. But at the time, with Viptela being such a market leader, the stakes are different now. Viptela's not like VeloCloud, whatever. Like, SD-WAN doesn't have this race that it had either. True. So, like, now they could probably take their time. They could just support existing customers, and in the background, with no pressure whatsoever, work on that integration. I think that's probably what we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like we're kind of poo-pooing Cisco. I think it was needed. They needed to do it. I think there was just hindsight's always 20/20, I guess.
Oh, of course. And knowing how the business units at Cisco are generally operated, I was not surprised. I was at Cisco at the time. I was one of the people, we had that was working on it when it first launched, within a few months of the acquisition. And I mean, it needed to happen. I think a big complaint of customers and even internally at the time was that, and this is all water under the bridge, right? Was that at the time Viptela had a lot of things planned like that were new and exciting, and remember, this is 6 years ago now or something, almost 5 or 6 years now that it's been, and a lot of new features at the time that were like brand new features that were like market leading, going to be like huge features that would really cement Viptela as the leader at that time, that really got put on the shelf, so that this could all be moved over to iOS XE. And so you had like a whole year where all the competition then was able to catch up. And like VeloCloud being one of them, actually, VeloCloud being a perfect example of one of them.
I think that was when the acquisition happened, right? When VMware bought.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's not the same world now. So my guess is that Arista will probably take their time and just support the existing customer base while they figure out how to do. But I do agree with you on the EOS thing. That is the kind of their one of their big huge things is like, hey, we've got EOS run one operating system everywhere. So yeah, man, I think we will see it, but I don't think they have the pressure to deliver as quickly. So
yeah. I agree. Yeah, well, we'll have to see what they do. I think this is. I mean, this is just the pains of an acquisition, right? This is what you have to go through.
Yep.
So we'll keep our ear to the ground, and we'll see what they end up doing.
Speaking of the pains of technology, so our next article comes from Reuters, and this is back in July 2nd. So this actually, I believe, has already happened. I've seen it on LinkedIn. A few people already saying like, "Hey, I've been let go from Microsoft." So Microsoft was announcing they were going to lay off 4% of the workforce. Another cut. Like Microsoft is just like chopping thousands and thousands of employees. And now they had said they were going to put like 9,000 per year to pay for the AI.
I think this did come out to be about 9,000. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's all. Yeah, something like that. So they had pledged $80 billion in capital spending, and then part of that was to pay for that was going to be cutting workforce. So this was, and we reported on this when they first announced it months ago, and this is just like fruition. This is the next round essentially of something that we're already working on. So this is so interesting. A lot of tech companies are doing this, right? Robbing Peter to pay Paul. Basically, they're cutting their headcount to pay for their expansion into AI, and the bet they're making, I guess, is that ultimately the ROI they'll get from the AI is going to be more than what they're going to lose in productivity and whatever outcomes that they would from having human capital. I wish I knew or could understand what their thinking was here, because it's completely speculative, right? Like there's been no actual, there's still to this day, still now, there has been no indicator that AI is going to be profitable to the point of like what you're laying out for it. Now, will it eventually become profitable? Maybe. There has to be some micronization of technology that's going to have to happen, whatever. But it's still very much in we've got a pitchfork and we're throwing money on the fire phase. Right. And except in this case, it's not, money we're throwing on the fire. It's essentially people's livelihoods anyway. But yeah, they're betting on this. And so is, Meta and Google and Amazon. Like they're all the big tech giants are going through this motion to pay to basically keep up with the Joneses. Right. So it's not sustainable. But before we get into that, there's one more article that I think is hilarious, and we'll cover we'll talk about them together. And it's one that, according to Network World, and I forget which, let me just look real quick. I forget what was the CompTIA. That's right. It was a CompTIA study saying that tech hiring exceeds expectations in June. So like literally you have these two articles right next to each other. Saying that the tech unemployment rate fell slightly in June as companies listed 455,000 job listings for tech positions, according to this tech jobs report. But it really buries the lead on this, saying that like tech unemployment is low and it's lower than expected. And then it goes on to point out that like almost all of the new job postings are around AI, like people that know AI, people that are involved with AI, data science, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it also points out that those 455,000 listings are just listings. So it's not really saying that like more people are being hired than fired or whatnot. It's just saying that, exceeds the expectations, which 2.8% unemployment as opposed to 3.4% expected. I still think both of those numbers are completely wrong, by the way, like completely doctored numbers. They do that thing where when people go off of unemployment, they don't count them as unemployed anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of right. Like the way the federal government does it. So I look at this article, I look at this quote unquote study, and I'm just like, it sounds like complete bullshit to me, according to everything I've seen everywhere else. So anyway, what do you have to add there? I know you got some thoughts about it.
Back to the Microsoft thing. I mean, we're talking about Microsoft here, right? It's one of the biggest kind of global employers that exists on the planet, right? So when they talk about doing layoffs and purely to invest in AI, I think their justification when they come to the table is probably going to be around not just like, hey, we need this capital just to fund AI. I think they're probably also, they're probably also doing the thing where they're like, oh, well, we can actually get rid of this job and just let AI do it as well, right? So it's, I think once we get into the conversation about tokens and things like that, that's being consumed. Maybe it does pay someone's salary, but nonetheless, yeah, man, it's like the tech hiring exceeding expectations article is also, like you said, I'm a little bit skeptical on that because like there's no way to know if it was just companies like shuffling deck chairs around, things like that. Like there's a lot of jurisdiction around whether or not, when you're going to hire someone for a new position, the job post has to be made public for a certain amount of days, et cetera. And we don't know, like, how many times have you been on the outside, you see a job posting, you're like, oh, that looks amazing, I'm going to apply for that. And then you're a perfect fit, you apply, and you hear crickets. And the thing was, it was just earmarked for someone internally that you never got to see, et cetera. So I don't know. I wonder if we are getting to that point where AI is quote unquote taking jobs, like I wonder if they're finding positions for people internally to do something else, and obviously they have to make a posting for the position that they're going to move that person into while their kind of rudimentary job was replaced by AI. But I don't know. I mean, obviously there's only so many people in the world, but tech is a growing employment sector. So it's like, it's hard to not be skeptical about these numbers half the time when you see so many layoffs on LinkedIn and things like that. So yeah, not much, kind of good commentary to add, but I think I'm with you, Tim. I'm very skeptical about the reality of what this means.
Yeah. It's and then you hear about ghost jobs all the time, where companies are posting jobs that they never intend to fill just to look like they're growing, so that Wall Street will react favorably and like stuff like that. It's out there, it's real. So something I was looking at, I don't forget what it was estimating the actual unemployment rate is probably closer to actually like 20%.
Jeez.
Which is nuts if you think about it. So, but then you keep seeing like, here's 9,000 people getting laid off from this company. Here's 5,000 from this company. We're in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of laid off people within the last year now. Mm-hmm. So actually, I can kind of see it, because all those people did not go get another job. You still see people looking for jobs all over the place. So. Yeah,
maybe these jobs are being posted for hackers in Korea
that's right, to come in and hack the network.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. So thank you so much. If you stuck it out to the end, you must have enjoyed something along the way. So please share with a friend. We would love to expand the show and our listener base there. So we will go ahead and wrap it up. And like I said, we are moving this to a fortnightly cadence for the overall show. So you won't get another news update for about a month from today. And in 2 weeks, we'll see you back here with an episode with a kind of our standard episode with a guest and things like that, where we talk about an interesting topic. So with that, we'll take it away and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Goodbye.